Greetings, friends. It's me, Wayman29. I'm out taking a walk in the dark. I'll be posting this as an audio file. It's very cold. Mrs. Wayman29 is kind of sick, so I don't want to bother her with ongoing discussions of religion as I do most of the time. So I decided to make a recording. This is going out to Third Proverb. Thanks for the video that you posted and your thoughts and your questions. You're very kind. There's 3 topics that you're not supposed to discuss at the dinner table: sex, religion, and politics. So we might not be able to talk about such things when I come down for the barbecue. Anyways, so here I am, out in the freezing cold, walking down an old snowmobile track, out here in the woods, talking about Jesus, and what I think, personally think of Jesus. I'm kind of like Thomas right now, and my thoughts about him are constantly changing every single day. And the topic is very fascinating. I cannot see him as Christian theology sees him, Protestant theology sees him. I see what people forget. Personally, I believe what people forget is that the writers had an experience, and they were trying to convey who they thought Jesus was. And each of those texts is an attempt to do such things and to place it in a historical context, so to form a storyline. So, a lot of the words supposedly Jesus spoke may have been put in the mouth of Christ by those writers, and to further their theological and religious views on who they thought Christ was, and to convince other people who they thought Christ was. I cannot go for the 3 things. Was Jesus was either crazy or he was a liar, because things don't work that way. Simply because if you read a lot of Hebrew literature, in those pages you will find things that were done, that Christ had done. And Christ was just an extension of that. My current view of the sacrifice of Christ for all men currently does not hold water for me, simply because Yahweh does not allow people to do that. And Christ seems to be the exception. And to me personally, he was made into a god, or seemingly made into a god, by all those people who wrote about him and recorded down things that they believe they heard him say. And here we have a conflict where the death of one for many needs to be researched. I need to do it. And also, what I believe happens is that the religion, the literature, and who these people thought Christ was, and the experiences that they had, are so diluted by modern day thinking that we forgot all about actually reading it without these theological views impressed upon it. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to take the theology out of the gospel text and read it. Just read it. And I can do that. And when I talk about it, it's kind of like the saying, love him or leave him. You know, you either love Jesus or you leave him. That's not true, because if you love his message and what he supposedly said, and what the biblical authors of the New Testament tried to convey he said, you will try to study everything you can, and everything that you know, both good and bad, about the situation. and consider all possibilities. And these possibilities end up becoming very different for different people. Many things affect how I view the text, just like anybody else. However, I do believe that what the writers wrote and experienced was something profound indeed, or they would not have written in such ways. And they tried to convince their fellow Jews that they were right. And we're still trying to do that today. I do not believe in proselytizing, because I believe in following the supposed ideas of Christ and his teachings. Even though he says go out to the field, I believe that proselytizing came much later, because I don't believe that Christ was in the text preaching to Gentiles. It was to his own. He never claimed to be Messiah. He always said, "You have said it," or "You have spoken." When he said, "You will see the Son of Man," it's a loaded term, which the idea has changed from the beginnings, when David was thought to be the Son of Man, all the way down through the writings, Daniel, such things. By the time it gets into the mouth of Christ, it changed considerably until it took on a different cultural context. So, me personally, I believe that he was a brilliant teacher and was very much misunderstood. And when we think that we need to make, the religion of Christ, the religion about Christ, we are releasing Barabbas and crucifying Christ because we are misunderstanding him. That's my current view. So, does Jesus give everlasting life? No. Ezekiel 18 says, each man's righteousness is accounted unto his own. Each man's transgressions is accounted unto his own. And apparently, the Apostle Paul forgot to read that when he thought you could get off scot-free by just saying, "Jesus, forgive me." A lot of times, I personally believe that I'm not too sure about a God. I might be agnostic. I might be a Christian agnostic. An agnostic who's not too sure about God, but likes to believe he follows the teachings of Christ. I don't believe that in order for Christianity to function, it needs to be all about Jesus. It needs to be all about Jesus' teaching, which is found in the literature. However, with the volumes and volumes of theology, and what we are taught about the literature, dilutes it and betrays it. And one of my missions on YouTube, when I seen people like Rational Response Squad go up against Christians who sometimes probably deserved it because they were extreme themselves. I dislike extremism in all of its forms. But even the poor people who didn't know a lot about religion and a lot about the Gospels and a lot about the Old Testaments were getting pummeled. And I had to ask myself, why were such things happening? It was because we did not have the head knowledge. We had the theology down pat. We had all these things that we thought about who Christ was and what he did for us and blah, 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 blah. We had no idea where the text came from. We had no idea how such things originated, why they originated. We have no idea about the historical context in which things transformed out of. We have no ideas about the wars, starving people, Romans slicing people up, bodies piled up in empty houses, zealots taking over the temple of Jerusalem. Titus's men breaching the walls, bodies so thick on the ground that you could not step. And it's in these environments of war and destruction that such beautiful literature was given birth. And the thing was that what Christianity later did, as the proto-Orthodox movement came to be, from reading the literature, it's my personal opinion, that they turned on the Hebrews. And the mother that bore them, they disowned her. However, when they needed to, they talked good about her and said she was useful. When in reality, out the other side of their mouth, they said something else. They invalidated the law, which freed so many people, which was given by the very mouth of God himself. Supposedly, it is written from the Mount of Sinai to all of the people, and they all heard it. And if all these things about God was true, we wouldn't have to hunt for it as metaphor. It would be perfect. So, if I were ever to have a bookkeeper, I do not believe it would be God. Just as a joke. But snowmobiles. I just want to say I really do appreciate people who comment, and like I said, I understand fully why you believe and how you believe, and I have no qualms with that. And I am very disturbed that people would have such harsh opinions, although at times fundamentalism brought it on itself. And probably the idea of anti-intellectualism and head knowledge and the retaliation against such things was the biggest scandal of the evangelical mind, because we're paying for it dearly right now. So, I don't know. I guess I'm an agnostic. I'm still thinking about Jesus, thinking about who he was, and I probably will till the day I die. And I will never reach probably a conclusion until maybe after I'm dead. And if such a realm exists, I get to stick my hand in his side like Thomas. I get to stick my hand in his side like Thomas. Then I would believe. So, I don't believe nothing's bad about that. I'm sorry I cannot conform to the ideas. I just can't do it. Because I have way too much freedom thinking about it. And if I were to conform, I would not be able to have the most outrageous thoughts about Jesus. Because that would not make me a very good Christian. So, I believe that when Christ said he had the everlasting life, I believe that he knew something that we're all trying to know. Not that he himself was that. So take care, friends, and hang in there. Hang with me. If you don't like me for theology, at least love me for the literature, and I'll be happy with that. Take care of yourself and each other. Remember, if everybody's thinking alike, then somebody isn't thinking.